Hi. It's so good to see so many of you. Thank you, Gary. So many pioneers. It's really great to have Lori and Judy here, to have our co-founders in the house. And it's really great to see all you new people. We're really glad you're here. Really, really, really glad. We love new, fresh people. We're entrepreneurs and innovators, and so anybody that's new, we like. If you're feeling a little lonely at this conference, just say to people, I'm new, and people will like you. But in the meantime, I would like to tell you what we are all excited about. Here's the basic deal. We are a people who believe in community entrepreneurship, who believe in local businesses that care about the health of their own particular communities. We believe that the purpose of business is to create something of value and that money is a byproduct. We believe that place matters. We believe that ownership matters, that who benefits from everything that we create actually matters, that opportunity matters, that we actually need each other, that nature matters, that we should actually consider measuring what matters, that it doesn't really make sense to measure how many microwaves per household we have, and that instead we should measure whether or not our lives have meaning. We believe that relationships matter most of all, that we are actually the most disturbing and painful challenge that we face today is disconnection and separation. That the fact that we don't know where our food comes from before it shows up on our plates, or where the waste goes at the end of the meal, or what our money's doing out in some mutual fund spinning around the world, really matters. That is hurting all of us. We believe. We actually believe that anyone thinks and feels that they can't do it alone is sane. We believe that this is insane. We believe that this is sane. We believe that this is insane. We believe that this is sane. We believe that this is insane. We believe that this is sane. We believe that this is insane. And that this is more sane. And if you're still at the end of this conference somebody who believes that this might be kind of sane, then find me and we're going to hug it out because this is way better. That is sane. That is good. Wouldn't you much rather be one of those guys than to be that guy? It's much better to be one of those guys. Back when we were getting going 14, 15 years ago, and this is a picture of Judy Wicks and Lori Hamill that was in Inc. magazine for them winning one of the top 25 most socially responsible business people of the world for founding BALLE. Back when we were getting going, our friend David Corton used to call this whole thing, this whole idea, the Judy economy. We remember that. Before we called it local living economies, local healthy economies. And it's in our DNA, it's in our creation story about how 20 years ago, Judy Wicks learned about the horrors of industrial farming. And she flew into the kitchen and said, take all the pork off the menu. And this was much to the frustration of the chef and all the people who had ordered pork that night. But it was to be done, and it came off the menu until she found hogs with histories and names, as she said. And she did. She was true to her word. She found hogs that had histories, that had names, that people could be proud of, that were humane to the animals, that were humane to the land, that were humane to the farmer, that were humane to the people, and she started to serve them in her restaurant. And then when she did, and not soon after, not much later, she realized, aha, I am the only one that serves all locally made beer. Only my restaurant has electricity from the wind. That is my competitive niche. Ah, ha, ha. And then, very soon after, she also realized, and this is the part that we really celebrate, it was when she moved from that competitive fear to tapping into a deeper part of herself to say, if I really do love those hogs with histories and names, if I really do love the land, if I really do love the farmer and the water, then what is one little restaurant going to do? I need to teach everybody how to do exactly what I've done. I should and I shall and I will, and she did, hire people who could go teach all of her competitors, knock on every door of every other restaurant, every other grocer, and say, why aren't you buying hogs with histories? And in fact, she asked the farmer, why don't you sell to more restaurants? And he said, because I don't have a refrigerated truck. And so she made for him a community capital, slow money, living return loan, and he was able to expand his business. And then she went to the credit union and started a fund, and the fund started to help other small businesses that were in the food system to grow, and she connected the whole food system in Philadelphia. She connected the dots from that to energy and green building and manufacturing and independent retail and independent media. And then Bali was born. And back then, like the Bali mama, as we call her, there were many, many of us with the same dream. Many of the people in this room had the same dream. And for the past 13 or 14 years, a lot of you have given your blood, your sweat, your time, your tears to build healthy, connected communities, to innovate in ways that now the whole world is waking up to. If I think back to then, we didn't really even talk about climate change then. Do you remember that 14 years ago? Maybe some of you don't, but we didn't really even talk about climate change nationally. Local and equality, or the inequality, were not really in the national dialogue. And this room has led a lot of the shifts that we've seen to local, the idea that local mattered, to local healthy food systems, to green building and green jobs, to local manufacturing, to community capital. And we are today in this place, in a very different place in our culture. In fact, I've been struck lately by how much our experiments have been working, and how much what we were told would work isn't. Did any of you see, just I think about 2 weeks ago in the UK, there was a conference called Inclusive Capitalism that was held? Anybody? Yeah, okay, one. Vicky Robin, hello, how are you? There was a conference that was held with about a third of the number of people that are here. There are 250 people at this conference, but they together represented 30% of all the financial stock on this planet. Yeah, in one room, a third of this size. And they sat together and they said, maybe we need to make capitalism more inclusive. And that's great, that's good. And, but what I was really struck by was their ideas, or their lack of ideas. They had 3 ideas. One idea was that big businesses could buy more from small businesses. Cool. They had the idea that we could do more jobs training, and that maybe we could teach more business ethics. So I thought, you know, we really need to help these people. We actually have a lot of ideas, and we know what's working, actually. So I jotted down 12. This is just a draft. We can work on it together. I'm not going to go into all of this because this would take about 8 hours. But I can say that we have experiments and data for all of these things. We have working examples, and we, I feel like today, have a checkerboard of solutions emerging that we really do know what works. Now, it's not that this can be a flip a switch, queen from on high, flip all this and you've got it. This is actually all of us joining in together. If we want prosperity for all, if we do these things where we live, we are on the path, all of us joining in. I'll share a little bit about a couple of them. This first one, promoting a culture of local, cooperative, and community ownership. This community started the term local first 12 years ago at our first BALLE Conference. And since then, so many of you have hosted local fests, you know, thousands of people in your streets, small wonders maps, loyalty cards, local first coupon books, Be Local Bee mascots in parades that pass out pizza to children. I don't know how many studies have come out of this room of the economic multiplier and how much government loses when they buy from non-locally owned businesses. And if we only shifted 10% of our jobs to local, what would that mean for job creation? But you all have changed the national dialogue. Back then, 14 years ago, every time local first was introduced into a community, some regional economist at some local university would say, what? To Michael Schumann's point, Tina, there is no alternative. That is against free trade. That's against competitive advantage. That's being parochial. Right, and that, I mean, we'd hear that every time that it happened. And now, of course, we see that Harvard Business Review, the Economic Development Quarterly, all the data shows the same thing, that the path to getting large and distant does indeed do the best job at funneling wealth into very few hands, but the path of the most density, the most diversity of locally owned businesses in a place is the path to the most jobs and the most wealth for the most people, toward prosperity for all. This is sophisticated work that you all have done. You have done sophisticated work to spread the word that has had an ongoing impact to change our national dialogue. In general, the system-changing game is long-term, and you are shifting the narrative. You are shifting the story from Margaret Thatcher's Tina, there's no alternative, to Michael Schumann's local ownership and import substitution, Lois. And that has made possible a new possibility, the possibility that a transaction could have a human face on the other end of it, that we could actually impact somebody for the better or for the worse. And this room knows how to do this, and this needs to happen in every community. For the second one, I would say, for the past few decades, traditional mainstream economic development has been chasing Boeing and Marriott and Dell and with tens of millions of dollars, and you guys know these stories. $200,000 a job to basically paying the full wages of the employee for a couple of years with the subsidies that the local governments are paying these corporations to move in. And as soon as the subsidies are done, they move. During that time, we were looking at what our communities needed, and then we were figuring out how to support community entrepreneurs who had a different vision, who aimed to solve environmental challenges, economic challenges, social challenges with their businesses. And how is running that kind of enterprise different than running a traditional business? In this community, I just read a little article in the Detroit newspaper, and it mentioned food. What'd you say? Oh, right, Holla. Detroit. I should have known. Right. Sorry. Do I say D-town, Detroit? How do I even? Detroit. 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 Okay. I've been to Detroit. I know. I should know. We were just there recently with Tanya here. But it was about Food Lab, and it was about, they were saying, rather than trying to mimic Silicon Valley with its burnout rates, failure rates, Pied Pipers, and increased inequality, we need to invest in these kinds of entrepreneurs. This is smart. In this room, many of you have, up in Northwest Washington State, Viva Farms is creating jobs with the yes, I love this. Is creating jobs with the community college system, training people in, many of them migrant workers, into starting their own food enterprises and their own farms. Nearby in Northwest Washington, Sustainable Connections has created all sorts of middle-class jobs in energy efficiency. We'll hear some from Andrea Chen of Propeller in New Orleans tomorrow, and what she's doing with her social enterprise incubator to accelerate all sorts of social enterprises. So I could go on, but the people in this room have looked at what is the ecosystem necessary to support community entrepreneurship that is for the good of that place. And we have answers, we have solutions, we know how to do this. In fact, a bunch of the people in this room were invited to Harvard earlier this year, and because they said, we realize that innovation around the greater good occurs in clusters. How are you guys doing this? This third one, aligning workers and labor and independent businesses and anchors around a path to shared prosperity. Have any of you seen Paul Saginaw, who's from Zingerman's? He's been on our board forever. And these ads recently with Paul saying, everybody cares so much about the chicken, but do they give a shit about the dishwasher? Inner City Advisors, who's also in the room and based here out of Oakland, they've done a beautiful thing working with, oh, I got to keep this right up here. They've done a beautiful thing. The businesses that they're providing technical assistance to and capacity building for, they have them sign contracts early on saying, you know that we're helping you, you know that you need our help, we're all in it together. We're asking you to, if it comes down to it, you will sacrifice some of your profitability as owners to ensure that you provide good jobs. So, good jobs, meaning good paying, career paths, benefits, and that is going to be something, if you're going to get help from us, you're going to need to do. I could go on here. This number 4, I'll just say a little bit more about this one, because otherwise I really could be up here all day. But divesting from Wall Street and investing in community. You'll hear some in the financing track here about some work that Leslie Christian is doing with a variety of investors and philanthropists. She's modeled it after Judy's book, which was Good Morning, Beautiful Business, but she says, Good morning, beautiful portfolio. So when you look at what you're investing in, can you feel pride? Can you say, I know exactly who I'm investing in. I know who this business is, and I see the impact that I'm having. She talks about how could we ever move to a new economy by recycling old stock. And she says, for instance, if you buy a car today from GM, and then I buy it from you, we are forever sharing that used car. Similarly, if a company goes public long ago, and then from then on we're just trading that stock, all we're doing is passing around that old used stock. We're not investing in that entrepreneur. We're not investing in that company. And we actually need people to invest directly in the businesses that we need to build the new economy. We need to move out of big banks because big money can only move to big things. We need to invest in community banks. A member of our community here was telling me that her work in Central Appalachia, that some guys on an investment committee there were saying, we only want to do big deals, but the only big deals there were fracking jobs. We need to invest in the real businesses that are building the health of our communities. And you'll hear more from Kelly tomorrow morning from the Encourage Foundation. This is a community foundation that is combining their investment committees, how are we investing our money to get some return, with their philanthropic giving committees to say, it's all going to be one. We're trying to build a healthy local economy and community out of Wall Street and into our own community. So you'll hear more about that too. My basic point is, we have an emerging checkerboard of solutions. And they need a lot more participation, and they need a lot more investment, but they need to be in every community because we have a really big and needed vision. This is our vision statement. It's right up here on the stage. A global network, within a generation, our vision is, within a generation, a global network of interconnected local economies that work in harmony with nature to support a healthy, prosperous, and joyful life for all people. That's a good one. And we're on this path. We're ready to meet this moment. This is what this community is currently doing. So Bali is working to connect local leaders from around the nation. So, for instance, we host the only local economy, the only fellowship that's focused on cultivating the emergence of a new economy. We have a membership of many of you who are working to champion a vision that we all share in your communities and are learning from each other. We're spreading the solutions, the stories, the lessons learned, the metrics, the proof points across communities. And then we're working to attract new investment to scale this movement. I just came out of 2 days with the Local Economy Funder Circle. This is a community of practice of people that we host, of very pioneering people with wealth who have a foundation and a bank or other investment vehicles. And they are looking, how can we build healthy, connected local economies with our financial wealth? And we're all here to learn from each other. And RSF and Bali are about to launch a new community foundation circle of CEOs of community foundations that also want to move their money from Wall Street to Main Street. I'm just going to share a tiny bit about there's a lot going on. I'm just going to share a little bit about the fellowship. So we launched this fellowship 4 years ago because our theory of change is around how do we cultivate the emergence of a new economy. And the best way to do that is to find the pioneers. Who's doing that? Connect them deeply, resource them with studies and connection to funding, and then tell their stories so others can imagine a path to follow. In just this short time, we've had exponential impact. So just these 41 fellowship communities represent 35,000 locally owned businesses. They reach through their communication channels over 1 million people, and 81% of them are serving low-income and underserved communities as their primary or major focus. In that amount of time, these people are getting stronger in their leadership. They're increasing their knowledge and skills. They're increasing the funding for their work. Just in that amount of time, they raised $4.28 million in new funding for their local economy work as organizations that are supporting community entrepreneurs. They say that just our putting a circle around them has meant that now they're getting invited to the White House or to be experts. They're going to speak this year at the leading economic development conference. It's going to have a whole panel of the leaders in this room saying that this is the future of economic development. People are collaborating all across the country, and right now, they've created a new metrics program with B Corp that you can see modeled and demoed here. But we're going to be working with B Lab to launch how can you measure the health and success of your local economies where you are across all of these businesses working together, not just one business. And also you can hear at this conference about the localist policy agenda that they're creating. What policies do we need in our communities that you need in yours if we're going to get to the future that we all want? This is how change happens. Change happens as local people connect with each other, share ideas across communities. And right now, we are having the membership of Bali connect with these fellowship communities, connected with these leading pioneering funders, connecting with these community foundations, and building this leadership network that really can change the future of our country. Here's the last thing I kind of want to talk about. People are coming our way. The things that we've been working on are bearing out. The evidence keeps proving what we're talking about. But I also want to say that none of those things that I put on that list of 12 are really going to happen unless we really believe that we are all better together, unless we really want prosperity for all. I've had some of the changes I've been working on feel a bit trendy. Some of you may have felt that way too. Local food, green building. I had a large retailer call me recently and say, Michelle, we'd love to partner with you. Your concepts are so fresh. Which kind of made me feel a little sick, like, you know, so all these ideas are fresh, and next year Parisian body butter will be fresh, you know. I've had too many people, I feel like, impact investors who've said things like, we just need a new asset class that will, in essence, funnel wealth to the same people getting wealthy from these businesses, and somehow expect radically different results. I've been to a large impact investing conference where I actually had to leave for a portion of the time because I felt like so many people were jostling and pushing me out of the way to try to save the world. Like, I'm going to dominate the love economy. I'm going to rule the cooperative market. I'm going to, and I just, the truth is Van Jones says it really well. If we don't change how we treat each other, we're actually going to be going to war with solar-powered bombs, looking for lithium for batteries instead of oil for cars. It's all this that really reminds me that we need to pay attention to the place from which Judy was operating when she made the choices to teach her competitors what she was doing. The place that you all were operating from as pioneers. And to continue to stay rooted there and to grow from that place. And here's my analogy. Here's two little frog friends. So in high school biology class, probably many of you dissected frogs, right? And you did never, though, expect that if you took his little frog eyeball and his little frog smile and his little frog hand and put them back together, that you would get a little living frog, did you? No, you did not. Why? Because he would be missing his frogness. Similarly, you cannot add up a locally grown apple and an energy-efficient window and a crowdfunding platform and get sister and brotherhood on Earth. Because you'd be missing the place from which the innovation comes, and that will sustain us. I want to emphasize this very much, because this is now, within a generation, is serious. The within a generation in our vision statement. The UN, WHO have said that one generation now, because of climate change and population, will need 70% more food produced on this planet than we currently are. That is staggering to me. That is my daughter's kids. In 2 generations, the predictions are that half of all the people on this planet will not have access to clean water. So does that just mean war? Is that the natural result? Our systems conditions today are changing so fast and so unpredictably that we're hearing, I am hearing for the first time from people, not just spiritual leaders, but people in finance, people in academia, people in government, who are saying new systems conditions require new leadership capacities. We are going to need a consciousness shift a la Einstein, that you can't solve the problems from the same level of consciousness that created them. Our friend John Fullerton from the Capital Institute, last year, he wrote this response to the Economist cover, "Welcome to the Anthropocene," that humans are affecting the climate. He said, "One truth emerges as an organizing principle to the arrival of the Anthropocene: interdependence. We are all in this together." So for me, I thought, okay, great. That's wonderful to hear all these different kinds of leaders saying that we have to be interdependent. Okay, but then my next thought is, right. So we just all have to wake up to our oneness. Okay. Except that I have been beyond the moon thrilled, and we're going to have Dr. Keltner from the Greater Good Science Center come and share more with us on Friday morning. But the new science of the past couple of decades has shown that people are well, all of us collectively, old, young, Democrat, Republican, rural, urban, we are well all when we feel connected to each other, when we feel connected to the natural world, when we feel deeply connected to our purpose, and when we have been generous with others. So in other words, when we have experienced interdependence, that is the only thing that makes us well as humans. In other words, that is our frogness. That is our humanness. That sense of interdependence. And it can be cultivated. I was with Otto Sharma, who's here at this event, in Bhutan this last year, and I met the man, Dr. Karma-Ura, who created the GNH framework. And he said, too, that emerging systems conditions require new leadership capacities that enable us to feel and act from interdependence. The three capacities we need to develop are knowledge of suffering, altruism, and courage, and all can be cultivated. That's the same thing that the new science says. All can be cultivated. I'm being told to wrap up, but I just want to say one or two short little things. I was in Santa Fe, Vicky Posabon, a couple of months back, and my taxi driver was an elderly man. He was missing about half his teeth, and he kept telling me that love and humor go together like peanut butter and jelly. He kept telling me he was going to slap me with a flat tortilla. It was freezing cold out, and he wouldn't drop me off at my shuttle to the airport because he said you'd be too cold. Instead, he drove me to a coffee shop. He waited while I got some coffee. He drove me back. He never made me pay for that time. And I was in such a good mood afterwards that I went to the airport, and I got out a tray for the guy behind me to put his shoes in. And so the guy in front of me saw me doing that, and he was taking off a bunch of jewelry, and he asked me to hold it because I'm a helpful person, apparently. And then the security lady said for me to go through, and I said, oh, and the guy behind me said, oh, she can't right now. We're helping each other. And then she started smiling because we're all in it together. And that can be cultivated. If you imagine right now that your chair loves you. Can you picture that? Imagine right now that your chair, the seat you're sitting on, is totally in love with you. Oh, do you feel that? Do you imagine your chair just like, oh, it's good to have you here. Oh, it feels so good. Is your back comfortable? Lean in. I love your shoes. You smell good. Now imagine if somebody walked up and kicked your chair. You'd be like, hey, easy with the chair. What about if you look at the person next to you and imagine that they are totally in love with you? Go ahead. Just imagine. They're totally in love with you. Totally in love with you. So how would you treat them if you thought they were totally in love with you? You what? You'd love them back. So, exactly. So what if we could do that first? What if you could love first? What if you could just love first? That's all I ask you to do at this conference this next couple of days is just love first. Put it out there. I know. This is actually our humanness. This is our frogness. This sense of interdependence is what is it for us to be well. So I simply ask these next couple of days that you love first. And this requires us, moving forward, as a community, to simply say this. This is my favorite quote. Some of you have seen it before. But it's about, first the fish needs to say, something ain't right about this camel ride, and I'm feeling so damn thirsty. He's like, this is us in our economy today. This is how insane it is. We are like little fish sweating under a hot sun, miserable. We are so unhappy, riding along like taking a camel ride in the hot sun. We were not meant to be in service to our economy. The economy was meant to be in service to us. We actually can build the kind of world that we want. We can actually build the kind of lives that we all want. Real prosperity starts here. Real prosperity starts here and together, we are more than we know, even more than, more than I can express. What'd you say? And we know. Can be known. We are more than can be known. And I do know that my experience is, if I love first, things seem to go my way. So I hope that for all of you and for all of us these next couple of days, we can build the kind of world that we all want to live in. Thank you.
Okay, true confession. I'm totally in love with Michelle Long. Who's with me? Thank you, Michelle, for your bright light and your frogness. So Michelle spoke about the innovation in this room, and I wanted to offer an opportunity. One of the things we've done at the BALLE Conference for the last couple of years is to partner with our friends at Organic Valley to do a business plan competition. And so I want to invite you to take part in it. And how you do this is to get a beautiful napkin and give us your most joyful, inventive, local, resilient, equitable business concept. You come together with a pitch team of 2 or 3 people. On your napkin, you provide a concept, and you submit this napkin to the main registration desk by Friday at 11:30. We have an esteemed panel of judges, including Jenny Casson, Judy Wicks, Ian Fisk, Mike Bedesum, and Toby Barazal, who will convene and look at these plans and make a very important decision. And those people who win this contest get a free registration to the 2015 conference, a complimentary entry to the William James Foundation's Mentor Capital Network Business Plan Competition, and other great prizes. So I want to encourage you to take this time to connect with each other, come up with something innovative. Past winners of the business plan competition have really built businesses in their communities that are now making a difference. So I encourage you to take part in that. And so Erin is going to close us out with a couple of more announcements, and we will get ready to do some more partying.
I'm the last person before the amazing Jen Johns, so you're almost there. First, I just wanted to have 2 things, logistical and then waxing poetic, perhaps. First, I just want to say, to take a look around, you saw the expo vendors that were here today. 8 of them are participating in something that our local Bay Area Currency Collaborative has worked with. And so we as a Sustainable Business Alliance helped to formulate this Bay Area Currency Collaborative. One of the members is Cowrie Village, and they've created this super cool thing called Barter to the People. So 8 of the vendors out here today their super cool products are available to do an auction for barter. So you don't need cash. If you're cash poor, you can still get some really cool things, some awesome local headphones, t-shirts, graphic design, a foodie box, like all this super cool stuff. And all you have to do is offer like a couple hours of your time doing something, trade a product, all right? So that will be available throughout the conference. You can sign up online and put your bid in, and on Friday, we'll find out who won those items with your bids. So that will be great. And then the second thing that the Bay Area Currency Collaborative crew is doing is Bay Bucks is another one of our members, and they're doing a local currency game room on Friday at the Hub. And so this is a super cool exploratory game that you can sign up for and basically understand how your relationship with, like, understand yourself through your relationship with money. So I'm not explaining it well, but it's pretty surprising and pretty cool, and there's limited seats. So if you want to sign up for the currency gain room, you can do that at the local currency booth, which will be here now, and also in the local economy lounge. So those are two things I just wanted to point out for you. I also wanted to thank all the food here is locally owned independent businesses in Oakland. The whole conference will be that way. That was curated by Tina Tamale of La Borinqueña Mexicatessen. She put all of it together, multiple local vendors. And then, I hope you eat all this local food, but if there's a little bit of the food that you don't eat, Food Shift, another amazing local nonprofit, is doing food recovery and taking all the good, clean food that is not eaten and giving it to shelters and those in need. So the food will not go to waste. So thank you, Food Shift. This building is a non-corporate owned, solar-powered venue in Oakland. Yeah. All right, so the other logistical thing, if you're going to the after party tonight at New Parish, move your car if you have a car in the back because you won't be able to get to it. So if you're parked in the back, move it before you go party. All right, so what I would like to do is close us out with a little bit about Oakland, the place that you're in. I think that the mayor did an amazing job, and I'm just going to add a little bit to it. And I'm going to do that by starting with a quick anecdote. So I'm a vegan, sort of. I'm not like a militant, like self-righteous vegan. I'm more like I want to be healthy and really try and look good kind of vegan. And I don't really drink beer that much. I'm more of like a wine kind of person. But nevertheless, our organization hosted an event a few months ago called the Bacon and Beer Festival. And it was awesome. We had, we sold out all the tickets. We had a line around the block. We had 500-person waiting list. But the thing that I was most proud about, when I walked up, I left for a second and I left actually to go eat some vegan food and then come back to the event. I was walking back to the event, and the thing that I was most proud of was that there was a protest. And it was the first time that the Bacon and Beer Festival had a protest. And I was like, oh, this is so Oakland. Like, Oaklanders, they just believe in fighting for everyone and everything. And so protests kind of give me the warm fuzzies, And that leads into my remarks about Oakland. The thing about Oakland is that we work really hard to make sure that everyone can express themselves, whether it's through their art, through their work, or through who they love or how they love. And yeah. Oakland has sort of like the crunchy granola heart of Berkeley and the innovative talent of San Francisco. And then we have our own passion for tolerance and justice. In New York cafes, you might find in New York people working on novels. In San Francisco, they might be working on tech business plans. In LA, they might be working on movie scripts. In the Oakland cafes, people are working on social entrepreneurship, non-profit, making the world a better place business plans. If you ask an Oaklander what they love about Oakland, and what the first thing almost everyone will say is it's diversity. We don't judge, we love. And so we're getting well known, as the mayor said, we're getting well known for our restaurant and food culture, but we're also home to incredible artists, tech companies, manufacturers, hacker spaces, co-working spaces, hub. And in our city limits, we have an awesome big-ass lake, towering redwoods, babbling brooks. We have coffee shops that are owned by the community. We have award-winning sex shops that look like art galleries. And we have all of this because Oaklanders work and vote and invest and protest to support creativity, diversity, tolerance, and the beauty of nature. So this is the right place for all of us to talk about our collective work toward prosperity for all. Yes, let's do it!